The gamble's not paid off, and now Carlos Sainz has an unexpected choice to make for his Formula 1 future, picking between two options with big downsides. Since finding out he would lose his Ferrari seat at the end of 2024 to Lewis Hamilton, Sainz has been biding his time while many driver market rumours swirled around him. His patience stemmed from the hope that a Red Bull or Mercedes seat would become a serious option rather than a long shot. But that's not happened, and now Sainz must face up to a very unfortunate reality. He's got to take a big backward step. Red Bull's set to re-sign Sergio Perez. As we make this video, we understand the decision's been made to keep him, and it's just a matter of thrashing out contract details. That's despite Perez's form dipping of late, which the Sainz camp had hoped might help Red Bull realise it needs a better teammate for Max Verstappen. Unfortunately for Sainz, the competitive picture doesn't trump Red Bull's concern about the tensions that existed when he was teammates with Verstappen at Toro Rosso. Regardless of Sainz and Verstappen themselves getting on well, Red Bull doesn't want their fathers in the same place again, as that is where the primary Toro Rosso issues stemmed from. It also doesn't help that Sainz is quick enough to make life a little too uncomfortable for Verstappen, but Red Bull won't publicly admit that. So it's a no from Red Bull, and Mercedes stopped being a realistic option recently as well. Mercedes is very keen to promote its young Formula 2 protege Kimi Antonelli straight into the works team next season, and as Antonelli is under contract, Mercedes does not need to stress making that decision. This means potentially waiting until deeper into the year to commit, and Sainz is, quite rightly, not willing to wait that long to find out if Mercedes has a place for him, especially as it would only be for one season, because by then it's highly likely his fallback options will all have disappeared too. We also learned recently that Mercedes' outlook had gone down poorly within the Sainz family, which felt that Carlos deserved to be taken more seriously as a prospect, and a medium to long-term prospect at that, and not expected to just wait around. With Red Bull opting against Sainz and Mercedes effectively timing itself out of the equation, it's decision time for Carlos, and unfortunately what's left is not befitting a driver of his quality at all. Sainz's choice of where to go is more complicated than it should have been once it boiled down to this. It was expected by almost everybody that Sainz would join the Audi project at Sauber should his bid to hold out for a possible top seat prove futile. And he still might end up there, but there's another credible candidate in the mix. Williams' pursuit of Sainz is not the sudden development it was made out to be when reports emerged in Monaco of advanced negotiations between the two parties. It's already been months in the making. We've previously reported that Williams had outlined its long-term plans to Sainz a while ago and continued to make compelling pitches. But we must admit, Williams was always framed as a wildcard. It felt like due diligence from Sainz's management, along with speaking to the Renault Works team Alpine and even Haas. The only option not on the table is RB, despite its competitiveness, because Sainz has no interest in going back to the Red Bull Junior team. Now Williams has emerged as more than just scoping out all options, and team boss James Vowles is a big reason why. He's already been key to re-signing Alex Albon on a multi-year deal, and is why, beyond a lot of coverage of the extraordinary details of its awful 2024, Williams is escaping much criticism despite performing worse than 12 months ago. For now, Vowles is getting the benefit of the doubt. That's partly because of the long-term malaise he's trying to permanently rescue Williams from, and the many problems the team is known to have, from its facilities through to its culture. But also because he speaks well, owns the team's problems, and has clear ideas for solutions. That might eventually amount to nothing more than talking a good game, but Albon's giving this Williams era time to back it up with action, and clearly Sainz is impressed enough for discussions to have gone as far as they have. Negotiations are believed to have even evolved to the point of offer and counter-offer, with Williams coming up with something considered satisfactory by Sainz. This is important for two reasons. First, to sign a driver, it's obviously crucial to present a deal that they are willing to accept. But second, it shows Sainz that Williams is serious about him and has the resources to back that up. Hence the complication. If it was just Audi in the picture, then Sainz would be dealing with one single clear fallback. Instead, it looks like there's a not so simple choice to make. The Sauber-Audi argument is obvious. It'll become a works team, Audi has succeeded everywhere it's competed in motorsport, and Sainz can bank a long-term, well-paid contract with a top manufacturer. That could also lead to other interesting opportunities in the future. The fact the team is Sauber is hardly ideal though, and it just had an absolutely stinking Monaco weekend that didn't improve its case. Sauber's now the only pointless team in F1 after Williams and Albon finished 9th. It's an awkward time for that contrast in team performance and results, plus Audi has just enough uncertainty about it as a new engine manufacturer that the argument isn't overwhelmingly compelling, hence Williams being in the picture. It's not just about recent results and short-term prospects. Sainz is working out what the best fit is for him. He wants a race-winning car and he can't get one immediately, so it becomes about other factors: belief in a project, the right environment, and a commitment of suitable duration. The arguments for both Audi and Williams are largely dependent on hypothetical progress. The two teams' potential trajectories are encouraging, and Audi's ceiling as a works project is higher than Williams's, but both teams are mired in problems. Sainz's choice will depend on his gut feeling, what fits him best now, and for the period he's willing to be locked into, what will one way or another be a marriage of convenience. Audi's keen to lock Sainz down for the long term, probably around 3 years. Williams could offer more flexibility, allowing him to leave for 2027 for example, if seats open up elsewhere once the pecking order in the new 2026 rules era becomes clear. It depends what Sainz wants, and we'll know soon enough. He's waiting for the door to Red Bull to be absolutely 100% closed before he decides. So once the Perez deal is absolutely official and done, the final cases for Audi and Williams will be presented to Sainz, and then he's expected to decide very swiftly. What Sainz chooses to do has knock-on effects for several other drivers, with one in particular relegated from being first choice at a couple of teams by Sainz's position. Of the drivers who have yet to secure a place on the 2025 grid, Valtteri Bottas is the most successful in terms of victories. While the 10-time Grand Prix winner's market value has dropped since his Mercedes years, he appears to be well placed to land a seat somewhere. Chances are that will not be with his current team Sauber. While he remains in contention for that Audi seat, the fact it's already signed Nico Hülkenberg and has made Sainz its top target shows how it views Bottas. What's clear is that Bottas is in contention for multiple seats. Williams, Haas and Alpine are all other possibilities. Despite some rumours after the Imola weekend a couple of races ago that he had already signed for Williams, the reality is Bottas is yet to put pen to paper. That team's pursuit of Sainz explains why. While Bottas might seem a boring choice and doesn't seem to be top of anyone's shopping list, there are plenty of good reasons to sign him. At 34, he still has plenty of years in F1 left in him, and considering the lack of competitiveness of the Sauber, he's been driving well this season. But for Sauber's various troubles, he could have finished in the points in Australia, Japan and China. Bottas also brings significant experience and know-how, not just of how Mercedes worked in the glory days, but also what he's learned since moving to Sauber. And he's shown he works well commercially, both as the more individualistic character he's presented in recent times and in the more straight-laced corporate world of Mercedes. That's why there's every chance Bottas will be in F1 for a 14th season next year. He's not the most in-demand driver, so he doesn't seem to be in a position to completely dictate his future, but he should slot in somewhere once Sainz kicks off a chain reaction. Bottas and Esteban Ocon are the most likely movers after Sainz, but there's also Yuki Tsunoda to consider. As we explained in our video outlining the Perez-Red Bull situation, Tsunoda's got no serious long-term Red Bull future, so his management is looking at alternatives. Tsunoda's believed to have been touted to Alpine and to be of serious interest to Haas, which seems a more likely prospect for a move. Tsunoda's end goal in F1 is probably a Honda-backed Aston Martin seat. That doesn't look immediately available, but could open up in 2027 or 2028. It would be a big long-term play to commit to, but if so, keeping himself in the game is vital. So this is the bottom line. Whoever Sainz picks, it's then Bottas versus Ocon versus probably Tsunoda for seats at either Williams or Sauber, plus Haas and Alpine. Ocon's not going to stay with the Renault team. His bridge seems to be burned there, especially after his Monaco lunge on teammate Pierre Gasly, who is set to be retained. So Ocon's looking at either Haas, which there have been conversations with, or maybe whichever of Sauber and Williams Sainz eventually snubs. Bottas is in play everywhere, but how much choice he has depends on whether Tsunoda really becomes available or not. There's room for all these drivers to find a home on the 2025 grid, but where they end up is still very uncertain.